So I emailed friends in Ramallah. And I got an email back from John Heshman. And John this was his second year at the school. He was an American of Palestinian descent from Tennessee. He was a good old boy. And he said, we'd love to do this. Only one problem. We don't have a teacher who teaches video, and we may not have the equipment to do this. How would you feel about coming over and doing this? And I thought, oh, cool, no problem. Now, I realized there would be a lot of obstacles in this, a lot of logistical things. But they were nothing compared to those 3 really big obstacles. Let's see if I can find those 3 big obstacles for you. Let's see. Oh yeah, fear, trust, and money. Fear. My last name's Cohen, and I'm going to the West Bank. I was scared. Trust. Trust, as it turned out, I'm a very trusting person. That might be a failure. But when I met with Joyce at this school, our meeting, I was surprised how much she didn't trust me. And she wasn't really sure what my motives were. And I had to work on that. And then the third one was money. It was going to cost a bunch of money. So I went and I spoke to our head of school, and he said, well, this is a great idea. We'd be happy to pay for half of it. You have to come up with the other half. So I had to come up with the other half. And to make a long story short, there came a time where I sat down with my family and said, this is not going to happen. I've bit off more than I can chew. No way. Don't worry about it. I'll do something else. The next day, I went to school. I had 2 emails. One was from a New York Times reporter who was in Jerusalem. And I had emailed him, he's a friend of mine, and I said, am I insane? And he goes, no, you know, Ramallah basically is a very friendly town. I think you'll have a great time. I said, okay. And then the second email was from our funding group that we'd sent to, full funding came. So, am I being led or am I leading? I am just never really sure. But it came through. So, I packed up my gear, went with a colleague, and off to Ramallah we went to. We were picked up in Jerusalem by Joyce in her car and driven through the Kalandia checkpoint. And this is a picture of just after we were through the checkpoint. There was a little bit of rain that day, so there was a bit of a flood. Behind me, you're seeing the wall that was erected to separate the nation of Israel and Palestine. We went directly to the school to work with the students because we were there for 1 week. It was Thanksgiving week. And here we are. Over on the left is Carrie, my colleague, who went with me. And these are the students we worked with. And they were fabulous people. And I have to say, Ramallah is a very friendly town. I had a great time. So we worked with these students for about 3 hours. And then I was picked up. By my host student, who was Tamara. She was a senior at the school. But we had to wait for her sister, Maral. And Maral was a freshman in university at that point. And she showed up, and then they drove me back to their house. And they had a very nice 3-bedroom apartment. It had computers in every room. It was very modern, very comfortable. I met their parents. They treated me like I was one of the family. It was really terrific. When my first discussion with Maral, the older sister, she was testing me a little bit, I think. And what I found in the Middle East was people really want to know your religion. They want to know your politics first. And then if you can honestly state exactly how you feel, then you can get on to actually having a discussion. So Maral was talking about the Palestinian-Israeli situation, and she says, I don't like anybody who's neutral. And I said, I don't either. I'm for peace. She then said, you know, I was in the United States once. I didn't like it. I said, really? Where were you? She goes, well, I was in Boston, and I didn't like that. Then I went to Chicago, and I didn't like that. And then I went to San Francisco. I liked San Francisco. I said, you did? Why did you like San Francisco? She said, it's like Ramallah. You can breathe there. Okay, that's cool. Later, Tamara, who was my host, showed me her room, and that's the room I would be staying in. And I'm sitting in the room, and I'm looking at one wall, and it's got posters of musicians and rock stars, and typical teenage posters you might see up on any wall in every teenage bedroom. On the next wall were portraits, black and white portraits of family members going back generations. On the last wall was, or third wall, she had her favorite pencil drawing that was up there. And it was an image of a young Palestinian bride with her husband standing behind her with one hand on her shoulder and the other holding a Kalashnikov rifle. She then pulled out of the closet her kufi, her traditional Palestinian scarf, and she brought it up to me. And she said, "Here, feel this." So I felt it. She goes, "Some of them don't feel so good." Then she said, "Here, smell this." So I smelled it. And she goes, "Some of them don't smell so good." She then said, "I'm going to take this to the United States when I go to college. I'm going to hang it on the wall, and if somebody gives me a hard time about it, I'm going to punch him in the nose." So I said, "So tell me how you really feel about the Palestinian-Israeli situation. What do you think can happen?" And she thought about it. She looked at me and she said, "I guess all we can do is kill them all." And I said, "Well, you know, if you manage to kill them all, kill all the Jews, that most or all of your friends and family will be killed in the war. Is that what you want?" And she said, and she thought about it. And she really didn't answer real quick. She really did think about it. She said, "No, that's not what I want." I said, "Well, what do you want?" And she said, "I want equality, and I want peace." So I said, "Well, you can work toward one end or toward the other." I had a great time with that family. And in fact, the last night was Thanksgiving that we were in Ramallah. And her family had this huge dinner. So Thanksgiving dinner, they made for me, for Carrie, and for John Heshme, who was also there. Unfortunately, we had to eat it kind of quickly because we also had to then go to a premiere of a movie in town where the director would be speaking. So we went to that, and then we were invited to the after party. And this was really getting pretty exciting. I mean, we were hobnobbing with all kinds of people. And then it was getting pretty late. And we wanted to make phone calls home to our families because it was Thanksgiving. So John said, "Well, come to my apartment and you can make those calls." So his apartment was in Ramallah. There are two schools. One's called the Boys' Friend School and the other's called the Girls' Friend School. The only thing is they're co-ed. So the Girls' Friend School is really the lower school and the Boys' Friend School is the upper school. I mean, it's just the way it works. So he was in the girls' school compound. And we went upstairs, and he had this nice big apartment, and he had a balcony that looked out over the hills of Ramallah. And in Ramallah, the sky is pristine. There's no pollution, and there's no industry, so there's no pollution. And it was just beautiful. The moon was out, it was a crisp night, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, we've come halfway around the world, we've made friends, we've made this film, and I'm just feeling on top of the world. We then had to escort Carrie back to her house, and that was within walking distance. And then John was going to walk me back to town, which he did, because I had to get a cab to go to where I was staying. And then as we were walking to town, he heard around the corner. John grabs my arm, and I jump, and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." I said, "That's okay, I'm already scared." Then John said, "Don't worry, nobody's running, and it wasn't loud enough to be the Israelis." I'm going to show you the film that was made from that trip.